Madam Speaker, the President of the United States.
Joe Biden delivered his first major address to a joint session of Congress last night, and defense, the military, national security, foreign policy were a fraction of what he talked about. And that's kind of the first point. We've come a long way since 9/11. So defense is a back burner issue. That's the first takeaway. That has been a trend in the last couple presidencies, but it was particularly stark last night. The challenges that Joe Biden talked about were largely in non-military terms. It's a battle of ideas, of ideals, of alliances, of innovation, not a battle involving weaponry. You saw none of the belligerent bravado of Donald Trump in the remarks last night, which was almost a grandfatherly kind of chat. The budget, it is not going to increase by much more than inflation, if that. So it's not like he's starving the military, but it is a back burner issue. The second thing that stands out from Biden's address last night is his point that America's political divisions weaken us geopolitically. He said the most common thing he hears from allies is America's back, but for how long? And his point is that the bitter nature of our politics means that what he's doing could be reversed by the next president. And that is new in American foreign policy. In the Cold War, you can argue that we won it because we stayed together, at least in foreign policy. And there was continuity from president to president. And I think he's right in that respect. And it's a big deal in U.S. defense and foreign policy. He talked about the president of China, President Xi's belief that the democracies can't win in the struggle for primacy with autocracies because democracies are too divided and it takes too long for them to get decisions made. Biden says he doesn't agree with that, but there's a sense that he's worried that Xi might be true, or at least he's using that argument to challenge his American audience to respond. The third point that stands out is the short shrift he gave to the national security challenges facing the United States. Now, you wouldn't expect a detailed policy analysis in a speech to a joint session of Congress, but it is noteworthy that he said basically diplomacy plus deterrence will be our approach. Well, of course it will be our approach. That's always the approach. But I would say that the president minimized the challenges associated with dealing with Iran and North Korea, and especially with the risks of the withdrawal from Afghanistan. There is a great possibility, according to experts, that the Kabul government will fall after the withdrawal of the U.S. troops and the contractors and all their support, and that there will be reversals of gains in democracy and for women, that terrorists may gain a foothold there, that it will be a propaganda victory for America's adversaries. And the last point that stood out for me is Biden basically said that the biggest terrorist threat in the United States, and the data back him up, is not overseas terrorists, but white supremacists. This is new. To my knowledge, I've never heard a president of the United States talk about the white supremacist threat of violent extremism inside our borders. And it comes as the military is focusing on expunging extremists from its ranks. It's a recognition of reality, but to me, it's yet another marker of how the United States has changed since 9/11. Last thought, just because Biden makes defense 10% of his speech doesn't mean that defense is going to be 10% of the story of his presidency. The way that he arranges his priorities is not necessarily how things will turn out,